Sometimes it might seem like narcissists are not afraid of anything, but this could not be further from the truth. In this video, I'm going to talk about the ways that pathological narcissism actually is based in fear. Narcissists are extremely fearful people, but what is it exactly that they are so afraid of? Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. A narcissist's fear runs very deep, and it's a really hard thing to try to understand. It's hard to really relate to what it is that they are so afraid of, and most of them really have no idea. This is a lot of subconscious fears, and this is really the basis of their whole pathology. Their narcissism is their coping mechanism. It's what helps them keep running in their life, keep running away from these things that they are so afraid of. And the things that they're most afraid of are things that are really existing mostly in their imagination. Their fears are based on things that they likely actually suffered in childhood or believed that they were suffering in childhood. So these things are real to them, but even they could never put these things into words. Many narcissists live with a perpetual, almost haunting kind of fear that something is chasing them. And this can be perceived in many different ways depending on the level of self-awareness or the personality of the narcissist. Some narcissists that I have actually spoken to personally about this perceive this as like some sort of entity, some sort of demon or animal that's chasing them, something that lives within them, almost as if they are perceiving it as some sort of possession. It's like a separate entity that they are running from. Some narcissists don't perceive it this way though. It's more just like something's always chasing them or caving in on them, or they're just always this far away from something terrible that's about to happen to them. You might wonder, what is it that they're so afraid of, or what does this represent, this demon or this feeling of impending doom? What is it that they're afraid is going to happen? And I think the simplest way to put it is that they're afraid that their authentic identity is going to somehow be exposed. That the person that they really are, truly underneath everything, is going to be seen by people, that the truth is going to get out there. But I don't think many of them consciously perceive it this way. It just feels like something's closing in on them, like someone's chasing them. And make no mistake that this feels like it's life-threatening, this threat that they're going to be exposed, that people are going to see who they really are. This isn't just like an inconvenience or an embarrassment or even a humiliation. This feels life-threatening to them. It is truly terrifying. It's like the feeling that you might get, I think the best way to describe it would be falling down backwards through an elevator shaft. The feeling of just doom swallowing them as they just fall into a hole that who knows what's at the bottom of it. And the tragic thing about this is that there's really nothing chasing them. And in this great fear that they have of their authentic identity being discovered by the world, they actually create a horrible person. They actually create a reprehensible human being that people do become disgusted by, in trying to hide this imaginary horrible identity that they can't even see, that they have never even known. So in a way, in running away from their greatest fear, they actually create it. And these fears were created in their childhood. These fears were created because for some reason they never learned how to trust connection when they were children, like most people are usually able to do. And this can happen for a lot of different reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean that they had bad parents. So there's all kinds of reasons that a child might not feel safe in his or her environment. There's all kinds of reasons that a child might not feel like his or her true identity is acceptable. And when a child doesn't feel like he or she can express his or her true identity, it feels life-threatening because children are dependent on their primary caregivers for life, for food, for shelter. It's instinctive. And so if a child feels the fear of being abandoned, it is life-threatening. It is terrifying. I don't know if maybe some of you can relate to the fear as a child, to the fear of either being abandoned, or if maybe you actually were abandoned by primary caregivers, and the sheer terror that can cause in a child. This is something that happens to pathological narcissists when they are children, for whatever reason, even if it's all in their head, even if they truly were safe and cared for whatever reason, they came to believe that they had to do a dance, that they had to manipulate people, that they had to fit some kind of mold, that they had to be a certain way, they had to be perfect, and they had to be perfectly whatever the definition of perfect was back then in order to survive. This taught them to manipulate people, and it taught them that manipulating people was much safer than connecting with people, and it taught them that to be in control of everyone in all situations is really the only way to survive. It's also why they created a false self, because their true identity felt life-threatening to them at the time. So this all eventually created an adult that could not express or even really access their true identity. It created an adult that had to be in control of everything and everyone at all times, and an adult that only knew how to manipulate people, that felt compelled to manipulate people and did not know how to connect, and did not feel like connecting with people was anything that he or she could trust. So if we could try to get a little more specific about what exactly narcissists are afraid of, I wanted to kind of lay the foundation here of the deeper origins of these fears, how deep they go, how pathological they are, how rigid they are, and how impossible it is for anyone to try to help them out of this. This is something that they grew into. This is all they know, and they will cling to these fears as tightly as they will to their will to live. The first big fear that they have is of their facade crumbling, of this persona that they've built around themselves crumbling. They build this contrived identity that helps them function. They pretend that they are this person that they've created in their head, this character, this perfect character that they've created in their head. They've worked very hard to become that character. And that's one reason that they need supply so badly, is because your feedback and other people's feedback helps to reassure them that their facade, that their fake persona is convincing people that it's working, that it's functional, that they're doing a good job with it. They need constant feedback because they are in constant fear that their facade isn't going to work, that it's crumbling, that they're not doing it right, or that people are seeing through it. They're living in constant fear of that, which is why they need constant feedback or supply. So this leads to the fear of not being believed, of people not believing their lies, of their fake persona, of all these frauds that they perpetuate. They feel like their lives depend on people believing their stories. And this is why they can get so angry when people try to challenge them or try to prove them wrong or try to reason with them even. This is why they're so dedicated to their lies. Their ego, their identity, their whole life feels completely invested in these lies. These aren't just lies for fun or lies to get what they want. These are lies that lay the foundation of who they want to be. Not who they are, but who they feel like they have to be in order to survive. If you try to confront them on their lies and their stories, they feel like that's a betrayal. They feel like if you really cared about them, you'd go along with all their stories and lies because they need you to. And when people don't believe their lies, that's when they feel that facade crumbling. Like I just said, they need that constant feedback reassuring them that their fake persona and their fantasy world is working, that people are buying it. They need your constant feedback for that. And when you start calling them out on their lies and you start trying to assault them with reality, they can sometimes become so fearful that they might violently start defending their lies. If they are confronted with their lies, that means that they're going to have to be confronted with themselves, with the truth of who they really are. And it's not the liar. It's not the awful person that you're being confronted with that they're so afraid you're going to see. They're afraid you're going to see the true identity that they're hiding underneath all of that, that actually doesn't even exist. Of course, another great fear that narcissists have is the loss of control. Narcissists need to feel like they are in control of you and everyone around you and everyone around them and everybody that they've ever seen and everything that they've ever been around, that they are in control of the whole world, that the world revolves around them, that everything that happens because of them or for them. They are extremely self-centered, and this is really where they get their reputation for thinking that they are the only person in the world that matters, because they really feel like they're the only person in the world that really exists. When they start to lose control of people, they're losing control of their fantasy world, the fantasy world that I just told you about, this fake persona, this fake character, this fake life, this great big lie. They need people to cooperate with them to keep that lie in place, to keep that fantasy world in place. They need you to pretend with them. They need you to play the part of the character that they've written out for you, because you are a character in their fantasy world and you're supposed to play the part that they've written for you. And everyone else is supposed to play the part that they've written for them. Everyone in the world exists for the narcissist, and everyone in the world is supposed to do exactly what the narcissist needs them to do. So when they lose control of people, this is terrifying to them, and this is why they can become so incredibly dangerous. The moment that they lose control of someone that they once controlled is one of the most dangerous moments that you can be around a narcissist. Another great fear that narcissists have is the fear of being ignored. Narcissists have to be relevant. They have to be not just the most important person, but the only important person. They need the world to revolve around them because that's how they see it. That's what they believe. Everything exists for them or because of them. So they have to be the only thing that matters. They have to be relevant. And so when people start ignoring them, or people start doing their own thing independent of the narcissist, or people do things that don't take the narcissist into account, it feels very threatening to them. This is an ego thing, but this goes way beyond pride or vanity. This really feels like their life depends on being the only thing that matters. When they have to recognize that other people have needs, this is black and white for them. If other people have needs, it means that they don't have any needs. They cannot consider that anybody else's needs matter without concluding that their needs don't matter at all. They cannot comprehend a world in which they have needs that are important and other people also have needs that are important. It just doesn't work that way. Everything that somebody else needs, that somebody else gets, is time and attention taken away from them, and they feel entitled to all the time and attention that exists in the world. And going back to this fake persona, another fear that they have is being normal, is just being just another person, just another face in the crowd, of being average. This is terrifying to them because the deep pathological shame that they feel for their true identity, the terror that eats them 24/7 of their true identity being discovered or exposed. This deep pathological shame that they feel, this terror that they feel at the idea of anybody ever seeing through to their true identity, of their true identity ever being exposed, is so extreme and so unreasonable and so based on a complete fabrication that it needs to be balanced out and contradicted with something equally as unreasonable. And this is why their personalities always have to be exceptional, always have to stand out, always have to be real special. They have to be the only person that matters. They have to be the smartest person in the room, or the most important, or whatever. They have to be exceptional. Being normal or being average in a way is like not a strong enough drug to counteract the deep shame and fear they feel about who they really are. They've got to contradict those beliefs with something that's way off the other end. They have to overcompensate for how they really feel about themselves. And this doesn't always mean that they think that they're the best or the smartest or whatever. This could be negative things as well. Maybe some of you might know some narcissists that are always talking about maybe how stupid they are or ugly or whatever. Maybe they're always tearing themselves down. Maybe they're always playing the victim and whining and complaining, always trying to be exceptional at being terrible at something or exceptional at having some horrible trait. That can be equally validating to them if it helps them to feel like they stand out, like there's something about them that nobody else has. There's something about them that is so special that they're really the only person in the world that matters. So narcissists don't always try to paint themselves in a positive light. Some of them get just as much validation off of being a victim or whining and complaining about how awful they think they are. And maybe I should have said this in the beginning of the video, but if you clicked on this video looking for ways to scare a narcissist, I have to advise heavily against that. Narcissists are pathological, and when they are afraid, they are dangerous. Trying to scare a narcissist, in my opinion, is incredibly foolish. If you know someone in your life that you feel confident is pathologically narcissistic, trying to scare them or upset them might seem satisfying, might seem like a good idea, but it's dangerous and it will never get the results that you're hoping it will. It will never do what you hope it will. Narcissists do not learn lessons. They will in no way ever experience anything that you do to them that makes them stop and second guess the things that they've done. Pathological narcissists are to be avoided. I mean, I guess you can do whatever you want, but it is dangerous to provoke a narcissist. It's dangerous to upset them, especially on purpose. Now, what narcissists are not afraid of, I want to go over really quickly. Narcissists are not afraid of losing good people in their life. They do not value the people in their lives. They might value certain relationships they have because of what they get out of those relationships, but they do not value people. They don't value good, honest, loving, loyal, caring people. These traits mean nothing to them. The only thing they care about is what they're getting out of the relationship. And if they can replace the relationship with somebody else that's going to give them the same thing, it's all sixes to them. It means nothing for them to replace somebody with somebody else that gives them the same or better. They do not fear losing you because of who you are. Another thing narcissists are not afraid of, they are not afraid of insults. They are not afraid of witty comebacks. They're not afraid of you telling them off, of you explaining to them how awful they are. I think people really, understandably get really angry at narcissists, and this is perfectly natural after everything that narcissists can do to people. So I completely understand how and why people can get so angry at them, but it's really important to kind of back up and look at the situation for what it is. As tempting as it is to express your anger towards a narcissist, to really go off on them, to insult them, to tell them what they've done, try to remember that this is all going to accomplish the opposite. They don't feel bad about these insults. They feel like they're special. They feel like they've accomplished something. They've achieved something. If somebody hates them, that means that somebody's paying attention to them. If somebody's insulting them and getting all wrapped up in whatever it is they did, that makes them feel important. If they can control your emotions by infuriating you, it only helps them to build up this feeling of the power of the fake persona that they have. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel safe and grounded to get you all worked up. So when you insult them and yell at them and tell them how awful they've been to you and tell them that karma's gonna get them, this makes them feel good and it encourages them to continue behaving the way they have. And of course, they're also not afraid of hurting people. I think we probably all know that, but it's good to remind ourselves of it if we ever try to appeal to their empathy, if we ever try to explain to them that they're hurting us, that they've hurt our feelings, or they've hurt somebody else. They're not afraid of that, and they absolutely couldn't care less. They will never be motivated by your feelings. And we might kind of forget this when we're at the end of a relationship or we're trying to end a relationship with them, and they start manipulating us and they start acting like they're so forlorn and that they miss us and they would do anything to get us back. We might start thinking that they might care about our feelings and the relationship itself, so we might start appealing to that. It's important to remember that they are not afraid of hurting your feelings. They will say or do anything to get what they want, and your feelings are never even going to be an afterthought. And one more thing they are not afraid of are consequences. Narcissists have this magical worldview that their lies and their manipulations and their cons are all going to do the job for them, that they're just going to keep gliding through life if they keep dancing this dance, playing this game, and pretending to be this character that they've made up in their head, that things are just going to work out. They don't think about consequences. They are not in touch with reality. They really think that this is some kind of dance, and if they can dance the right steps, there's always going to be something or someone that's going to save them at the last minute. Even when they are forced to face the consequences of what they've done, they are very unlikely to be able to even look at it. They're going to be blaming other people, or they're going to be pretending that reality isn't even happening. The fears that narcissists have are largely unconscious. They're things that the narcissist is usually completely out of touch with, unaware of. Something that they're constantly running from, trying to cover up, trying to avoid, without ever really knowing why, or really truly understanding what's going on in their own head. They spend all of their time running away from themselves to the point where they don't even know why. They don't even know why they're doing it. I mean, maybe some do, but all in all, narcissism is a subconscious coping mechanism or collection of coping mechanisms, and it is extremely powerful. Narcissists run on fear. They run. That's all they do. Narcissists are constantly running from this fear, and that's why they never really have any time or energy to think about you, to consider anyone, to even consider the existence of anybody else, because all they see when they look at anyone is an object that can help them in their quest to continue to run from their baseless fears. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to comment below any suggestions that you have for me for future videos, and subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.